Hey crew, Scott here. It is Sunday afternoon and it's May. It is May already. I know that all of us, I was going to say most of us, all of us are have been in lockdown mode for about 7 weeks now, and we're going into week 8, month number 2, and all of you have just done a fantastic job of staying focused, doing a great job with your teams, and doing a great job of taking advantage of our work together. And so, what I want to do here in this video is 3 main things. So, number 1. I want to celebrate some success from some of you that you've been sharing with us, some April success, so that we can build some momentum going into May. So that's number 1. Number 2, I want to talk about May and all the great stuff that we've got lined up for you to help you ramp up and scale up your sales. And then number 3, I want to talk about something that we discussed with you back in January, which was what we called Idea to Impact 2020. And I want to come back to that because we're coming into week number, 8 of lockdown. And I think a lot of you are sort of past that place of, stabilization and really looking at how do you streamline and get back to growth. And some of you have been continuing to grow even over the last couple of weeks and last couple of months. And so we're doing the very same here within our team. And we want to look ahead, not just on a week-to-week basis or month-to-month basis, but we're looking ahead to the end of this year. We're already looking ahead to 2021 for all the great things that we're going to be continuing to do here within our company to help you and teams just like you. And part of that look ahead means evaluating how we're doing to make sure that we're getting you to where you want to go. So that's the concept of Idea to Impact 2020, and I want to share that. So let's dive into the first of those 3 areas. Let me head over to share my screen. And what I've got here is just a couple of recaps, first of all. So the April recap and what's ahead in May. So what happened in April? So let's talk about you. And some of you have shared some really great wins with us. And I want to share that with the rest of the group too. So John Dobson, a couple weeks ago, we had asked him like, hey, John, there's a couple of things we'd love to ask you how we could do better. And this was his reply to us. He onboarded a new client, 120K in revenue for his company, Payrex. And they got another deal in the pipeline getting closer. Really done a fantastic job, him and his co-founder, Steve, over the last 9 months or so that we've been working together to just keep building out that sales function, building out that sales process. And they're starting to really enjoy that success. So great job, John and Steve. Melissa has been doing a great job. She's a single person CEO running sales like a lot of you out there. And she's just been banging the phone, trying to get initial projects in the queue, trying to get some revenue in the door. And a lot of it's just been based on network and working through past leads and picking up the phone. And this is something that she reported to us earlier in the month, where she's just been calling people and getting orders, including a couple of really large companies, Fortune 500s that you would recognize that I can't share. She and I actually did a user study video that she's going to be sharing out as well. So great job, Melissa, picking up the phone and just making it happen. Guillermo and his team, Roger Lee, Guillermo, and the rest of the team over at Dossier, they've had 2 big wins over the last couple of weeks. One was getting a dialysis provider in Ohio to sign on to the platform. And then just this past week, they got their first customer in Germany. So great job to that team, again, in the healthcare sector, which is a difficult place to sell. And so speaking of healthcare, Michael Malin, he and I have been working together for about a year now. I've known Michael for about 2 years since we first met at a workshop. And this past month, he signed his first US customer and then got a second US customer. And so Michael and I were chatting on Friday. And here's the thing that's really cool about the work Michael's been doing. So just like Guillermo, he's also selling into the healthcare sector. And one of the things that he did is build out a completely a complete view of what we call a vision demo. So his product is designed for patient monitoring, and they've been selling to outpatient surgery centers, but many of those surgery centers are closed because they're considered non-essential. And so he did a pivot. And this week, this Monday, he's flying on an airplane, heading over to Texas to set up his product Stasis onto COVID patients that he's going to be helping to serve and service. So he's going to be putting on the suit and the whole deal, getting on site. And then in 2 weeks time, he'll be going back to LA to do the very same. Over the course of the last couple of weeks, he also has a team back in India, and they've been setting up these monitoring systems. You can see the black monitoring systems that are set up outside of the isolation room. And these are patient monitoring devices. And when he and I spoke on Friday, he mentioned he had 3,000 patients that are COVID positive in India that are hooked up to his machine. So just a huge, huge win for Michael, not just, of course, from the business side, but really like truly making an impact in ways that I think a lot of us would like to do, and a lot of you are doing in the world right now. So great job, Michael and Dinesh, on that. One last thing I wanted to mention, just as a big high five to Daniel Filstra over at Frontline. So Daniel's been recruiting a salesperson, and Kevin just was hired and onboarded over the last week, or last month, excuse me. So I've seen Kevin on the calls, jumping on training, jumping on coaching calls, getting him dialed into his role there at Frontline. So I know several others of you have been bringing in other folks in the team. Daniel and I have been working together for quite a while, and this has been a gap that he's had for a while. And so finding Kevin, getting him on board and now helping to deal with and work with the hundreds of leads that they've got has been really cool. So I know many more of you have other wins. These are just some of the ones that we pulled out from Slack and conversations and coaching calls. So please continue to share the wins, and we'd love to keep accentuating those wins to you, because I know in times like this, the more that you can feel that momentum and get that pat in the back for the work well done, the better it feels. So that's all the stuff that you guys did. A couple things that are also new. So we brought in 3 new teams this past month. So Team MAV, so Matthew Black and Hillary Fraser Black are now part of the team here, or their team is part of our group. And so they have an automated texting platform that's designed to help lending companies identify potential customers for refis and cash outs. And so Matthew and I connected on LinkedIn a couple of years ago, and then he came to one of our workshops last month, and then he and his team have joined our group over the last couple of weeks. Second group that we brought on board is Data Dwell. So I've known Oliver from a workshop that we did a couple of years ago, and I actually worked with him and his early sales team a couple of years ago. And we've brought Monica on board now, who's running sales development based out of London. And so she's going to be working with us and over the summer to help her get her outbound strategy dialed in. And then also Team Esther. So Jean, Alize, Amanda, as you can see, Jean's in New York, Alize and Amanda are over in Europe. And Esther is a platform that helps retailers identify consumer preferences for beer tasting. So really cool stuff. They're selling to very large retailers. I've known Jean now for about 6 months or so. Also met him at a workshop through Belcham, the Belgian American Chamber of Commerce, where we did a workshop late last year. And so having him and his team come aboard has been also really cool. So those are all the things that have been happening in April. So let's talk about, a couple other things in April that we did. So we did video training with you. We had Ken Ogazaki, and we also had Jacob Fernandez from Vidyard come in. And we also had Aaron Ross come and do a nail our niche training. So lots of stuff happening in April. And so now I want to talk about May. Let's look ahead to May. So just a couple of things that you'll be seeing coming through your inbox. So we have our regular coaching calls. So on Monday, every other Monday, starting tomorrow, May 4th, we'll have our pipeline and deal conversion call. And then every Tuesday, we have our open forum calls. So you'll see those in your inbox. This month in May, we're going to be focusing on live training all on outbound. So tons of you, lots of you are working on your outbound outreach strategy. So either you're building out your outreach strategy for the first time, or you're fine tuning the one that you've been using. And so one of the things we're going to do to help you with that is we're going to do a 2-part training on outbound and outreach. So our good friend Jason Bay, our resident expert when it comes to outbound sales, is going to be running a 2-part training. So in lieu of doing the big group coaching calls with Jason on the off Wednesday, the every other Wednesday, he's going to do a 2-part training. So session 1 is going to be thinking outside the script. So how do you craft your message? So one of the things that we've learned in working with you and Jason working with you is that most of you already know what you should be saying. It's just transferring that information into the email or onto the phone call. So we're going to be working on that with session 1, thinking outside the script. How do you craft your message? And then the second part of the training is going to be engaging. Like, how do you actually execute your outbound cadence? So by the end of this month, you'll have your message, you'll have your cadence, and you'll be able to start rolling those out. So those will replace the group coaching calls. Jason will continue to be available for one-on-ones and small group calls on Fridays. So if you've got something really specific that you want to work on, just work with Amy and Matt, and we'll schedule that in. One of the things we found to be really useful in those Friday calls is if we have 2 or 3 teams that are all working on the very same problem, what that does is gives you more time to work with Jason, and then the 3 of you or 2 of you can work together as a team. So that's how we're going to be supporting you on the outbound side of things. Number 1 with the live training, and number 2 on the one-on-ones with Jason. One of the other things we're going to do in May is that I want to help with follow through on all the video training we did. So we've had so many of you, Scott Felton, for example, is one, Michael Malin is another person. I know Melissa's done some video stuff. John Dobson's done some video stuff. A lot of you have said, hey, I know I want to do this video stuff. I know it's important, but maybe I just need a little push. I need a little accountability. So what we're going to do in May is a 10-day video challenge. And I'll announce a lot more on this in the next week. But basically what we're going to do is make it super, super easy for you to do a video every day for 2 straight weeks. So 5 days in a week for 2 straight weeks, 10-day video challenge. And here's how we're going to make it super, super easy for you. So we've already got the trainings and everything up on the client site. More importantly, the way we're going to make this super, super easy for you is what I've already started doing. I'm almost done with this. What I've done is on a day-by-day basis in these 10 days, I'm basically going to tell you exactly what the video is that you need to do for that day. So there's no thinking required. You're just going to get the message that says, hey, it's day 1 of the video challenge, and I'm going to tell you the topic and give you the script. So here's day 1. Here's a thank you message to a customer. That's going to be our very first video that you're going to do as part of this 10-day challenge. And the reason we're doing this is because it's your customer, it's your friendly, it's really, really easy, smooth and easy into the rest of this 10-day challenge. So here's an example of, here's the topic we're going to give you, thank you message for a customer. And then I'm going to give you the script. Hey, name, just the message to say thank you for being a customer, and so on and so forth. We're going to do this every single day for 10 days. So you don't have to think about what am I going to say, who am I going to do a video for, what kind of video do I do? You just follow the recipe, follow the script. It's like going to the gym. You just show up, I'll be your trainer, and I'll tell you exactly what to do for that day. And at the end of those 10 days, you'll have done 10 videos. You'll start building up that video muscle and get a lot more comfortable doing this. Of course, if you want to do more than 1 video in a day, or you decide, hey, this day 3 video that we just did is really great, I'm going to have to be doing one of these every single day, or have my team start doing it, that's cool too. The idea is just make it really, really easy for you. And then you'll have all of the scripts for all the different kinds of videos that you can do. Videos for customers, videos to sales leads, videos as a follow-up, videos to potential partners, all of that good stuff. So super excited about this. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And it's just a way to help you again with your outbound and to help you build up your sales playbook. A couple other things in May. So we've got this idea that I like to share, which is none of us is smarter than all of us. You've heard me talk about this in workshops. You've heard me talk about this in some of our group calls. And so one of the things we're going to do this month is 2 different mastermind sessions. So if you're a sales VP, so if you're at your team and you're managing a team of reps, what we're going to do is a sales VP huddle. We did one of these last month. We're going to do it again this month. So this is going to be a small group just for sales VPs. And then we're also going to do the very same thing for the CEOs and founders in our group. So these are for sales VPs only, and then CEOs and founders only. And this is just designed to give you a group of peers where you can work on problems, work on challenges, get some perspectives from people just like you going through the same stuff as you every day. And then the last thing we want to do, I'm going to talk about in May, is our 6-week sprint cycles. So those of you who work with us for more than a little while, you know that we like to work in these 100-day sales plans. And coming into May, we were supposed to have our client intensive. This is our 2-day workshop that we run in San Francisco. We run these 3 times a year. Well, obviously we can't do that in May. And one of the things as we thought about as Amy and Matt and Jaza and Ronnie, as we were talking through, like, how do we best support you this summer over the next few months? One of the things that we talked about was that, 100 days is great in a perfect world. We come up with 2 or 3 big projects to map out over the course of 3 months plus, and really think about what's the big plan. But right now, sometimes that's hard to do. Your teams are aggregated. And most importantly, we want to help you focus. We want to help you focus and execute on the thing that's most important in front of you. So instead, for now, instead of doing the big 100-day plans, instead we're going to pare this back and we're going to do 2 6-week sprint cycles over the summer months. So let me explain that to you. So the first thing we're going to do on May 18th, so in a couple of weeks, May 18th, we're going to do a 6-week sales planning session. We're going to have you all join us, and we've got our own startup selling sprint planner that are going to help you identify, like, what's the one project over 6 weeks time that you want to execute. So an example of that might be build out a video strategy. That would be a great project to build and install a video strategy into your sales playbook. Second idea could be build and launch our first outbound sequence. So you've got all this great training and support coming from Jason and for me and the rest of the team over the course of May. That might be a great project for you, so that by the end of June, you've got your outbound sequence built and you've started to run that. That would be an ideal project over a 6-week sprint. Maybe some of you actually want to build the version 1.0 of your sales playbook, and we've got tons of resources that we can help you on that. So whatever that one project is that you can get done in about 6 weeks time, we want to help you identify what that project is and then help you build out a sprint plan that's going to help you execute on that one project. And Amy, Matt, and I will help you identify that project, but also keep you accountable to make sure that over the course of that 6 weeks, you're taking the small steps necessary in order to get that big outcome. So that's one adjustment that we're making. So instead of doing a big client event, which we can't do, I'm also going to skip doing, we thought about doing a big virtual event, but frankly, I think a lot of people are pretty virtual evented out right now. And most importantly, we've been able to deliver lots of great training to you, bringing in guests like Ken and Jacob last month, Aaron Ross last month. We've got Jason Bay, obviously, who's a great part of the team here this month. Next month, we're looking at a couple other guests coming in when it comes to managing SDR teams. We've talked to Leah Cheney about doing some customer success stuff. So we've got Mark Colgan, who some of you know from our workshop. We talked to him about doing some training. So what we've effectively done is replaced the 2-day event by just kind of giving you and installing trainings along the way, starting back in April into May, into June and July, so that you can get the content and the training that you need without having to block out 2 full days, which frankly I know is just nearly impossible for a lot of you at this point. So that's how we're going to do that. So the May period is going to start on the 18th. You can see a big green dot. So you think about 6 weeks, the last 2 weeks of May, and then 4 weeks of June. So that would be sprint period number 1, block number 1, 6 weeks. And then the second block would be, we'll take about a week or 2 off. So we've got the July 4th holiday in early July, and then we'll start a second 6-week block on July 13th, which will go the last 3 weeks of July, and then the first 3 weeks in August. And then you've got a week break, kind of a breather before we move into September. So that's how we're going to run the summer. So instead of the big 100-day plan, we're going to pare that back into 2 6-week sprints. So ideally, you just pick one big project. If you've got a bigger team and more support and you can handle 2 or 3 projects at a time, that's totally cool. We just want to make sure we'd rather you get 1 project done than have 3 projects that don't get done. And we'll help you with that. So that's what we're rolling out in May to help you with that. So like I said, we're not going to do a big client intensive. I'm super bummed. This is the picture from the last one that we had. Obviously, it's just not a good time to do it. We're thinking hard about whether or not September is going to be possible. Just like you, we're kind of waiting things out to see how the world looks and how comfortable, if travel is even possible, and how comfortable people are with traveling. So we'll keep you updated into the next month or 2, and we're just going to see how that goes. But that's it. You know, that's sort of the updates for now. So the last thing I want to do, so we talked about April and celebrated some success. We talked about May and what's ahead. So the last thing I want to do is just take a couple minutes to talk about something that we discussed back in our giant, I was reading Shoulders of Giant on the screen, on our last client event back in January. And so let me share my screen here, get my iPad dialed up. Here we go. So back in January, we talked about our initiative that we called Idea to Impact 2020. And one of the things that we talked through in the January intensive and also in the training that we did after the January intensive was the importance of this rule of 3 and 10. So if you've not come across the rule of 3 and 10, it's really, really simple. It's a simple rule. I learned about it from Phil Libin at Evernote, who learned about it from Hiroshi Mikitani over at Rakuten, which is a huge Japanese company. And basically the rule of 3 and 10 works like this. It says that when your company jumps in multiples of 3 and 10, everything breaks. So if you think about when you jump from 3 employees to 10 employees, the systems you had when you had 3 employees don't work when you have 10 people on the team. When you're a 3-person team, maybe founders and co-founders, and then you go to 10, you start to actually have employees, stuff breaks. And so you have to rebuild your systems, and then you go from 10 to 30, and again, stuff breaks. How you communicate, how you work day to day, how you hire, all those kinds of things. The same works from a revenue standpoint. If you think about the rule of 3 and 10 on this journey from idea to impact, we know that there's these, you've seen me talk about this many, many times. There are these 3 phases of a startup's growth, of any company's growth, right? There's startup, there's ramp up, and then there's scale up. And so all of us started with an idea for your company. And of course, we want to make an impact. That's why this is called idea to impact. And so as this relates to the rule of 3 and 10, if you think about these phases in your growth, that startup phase is usually about getting your first customers, right? And your first 10 customers. And that's usually getting anywhere from like 100 to 300K in recurring revenue. And then from there, your next big jump, if you think about the rule of 3 and 10, if you're at 100K, the next jump is to get to 300. If you're at 300, the next big jump is to get to 1 million in ARR. If you're at 1 million, your next jump is thinking about how do we get to 3 million ARR. And if you're at 3, then the next jump, of course, is to get to 10 million. And that's where you really start to make an impact in your market for your customers, right? And so the reason this is important, if we think about this model, I'm just going to make the 100K a separate step here. When we think about idea to impact and this rule of 3 to 10, internally here with our company, here at Sales Quality, with everyone here on our team, one of the things we asked you to do back in January, this middle sheet here, are those of you that came to the client event, we asked you to tell us what were your annual outcomes for 2020. Where did you really, really want to be? And the reason that was important is because we wanted to get really clear about which of you, like, where are you now and what are your next big jumps? So for some of you, you started this year here at 300K, and your outcome for 2020 is to get to 1 million in revenue. Some of you are at 1 million and your big outcome was to jump to 3. Some of you are back here, right? You're at your first 100K, your big jump is to get to 300K in revenue. And so if we knew where you started, our goal, our job as your coach, as your partner in this, is to make sure that you've got the systems and the strategies and the skills necessary to make that jump, however big or small that jump is. And so as a company, we have a critical number. This is our number that we think about every day. Whenever I'm on a call with Matt and Amy and Jocelyn and Ronnie and anybody else that we're working with, what we're thinking about is this number 30. And that number 30 is how many of these jumps we can help you as a group make. So if we have one of you goes from 300K to 1 million this year, that's counts as a jump. That's one, right? If one of you goes from 100 to 300 and then 300 to 1 million in a year, you've actually made 2 jumps. That counts as 2. And so if we think about the teams that we're working with and the teams that we're supporting, our job this year, like our goal as a company, is to help figure out how to help you get 30 jumps. We want 30 jumps as a group, right? So some of you, just getting one jump from 1 to 3 is a big jump. For others of you, maybe it's smaller jumps. But most importantly, all the work that we do every single day is based on this critical number. And so, over the last couple of months, it's been hard for a lot of you to sort of get stable and now streamline and start thinking about growth. And it's been the same for us. Like, we've wanted to make sure you're stable. We want to figure out how to get your processes streamlined through this new world environment. And now that a lot of us are in that point, we want to get back as a company, for us supporting you. We want to go back to this goal. That goal hasn't changed for us. We haven't talked about it a lot in the last couple of months because we've been so focused on making sure that all of you had what you need in order to keep going and keep growing, to get stable and then think about growth. And so now going into May, one of the big conversation pieces for our team has been getting back to this number. And so over the course of the next couple of weeks, as we think about the sprint plan meeting for May, and we think about taking almost like a diagnostic of where you are now, we want to understand where you are now relative to where you were in the beginning of the year, and then help you identify what you need to do between now and the end of the year to make those big jumps, to jump from 100 to 300K, or from 300K to a million, or from a million to 3 million, so that we can help you track that. We can help hold you accountable, and then also make sure we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we help you get to that outcome that you want. And so the last thing I want to leave you with here is this 100% model. So we talked about this as well at the client event, and we also talked about this in the January training, where again, we all start with an idea and you want to make an impact. And what we want to do is help you get to that. And the way that we want to help you do that is through this 100% model. This is actually the chart that I drew at the client event. And so if you think about, there's two sides to this, right? So there's you and there's us. There's you and there's us. And there's three kind of core pillars that we found over the years of doing this that are the most critical core pillars that are going to help us be successful in our work together. The first one is communication. So the more that you and we are communicating, then that allows us to get into a flow. So if you're checking in with us on Slack, if you're hopping on some calls, if you're pinging Amy or Matt or me and just say, hey, this is the stuff that I'm working on, these are the wins that we've had, that helps us know where you are on a week-to-week basis, so that when you do jump on a call, we don't have to spend a bunch of time catching up. We're just in this flow. So the more we communicate, the more you communicate with us and the more we communicate with you, it just allows us to get into this flywheel function where we could just keep moving. Every time we're on a call, we just move to the next thing, right? The second thing that's on this chart over here is commitment. And commitment's really easy. It just says, look, when you hop on a call and we help you identify your key steps to moving forward with whatever strategy we put together for you, then you have a commitment to put it into action, right? And so that's the output of commitment, is that when you make commitment, you're taking action. You're committing to taking action. You're committing to doing the action. We're committing to help you with that action. And then the third pillar that we've got up here is taking. Oops. So, oh, sorry, man. I screwed it up. Commitment means accountability. So we know what you are accountable for, and you can hold us accountable to supporting you. The third action here, or the third pillar, is action. And so you commit to taking that action, and when you take those actions, you get results, right? Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Either way, the only way you're going to win or learn is by taking action and seeing what works for you. And so this 100%, the reason we call this a 100% model is that we want you to know you will always get 100% of our 50%. And in order for our work to be successful, we need 100% of your 50%. That's why there's two of us here. This box makes 100%. So if you think about it, it's 50%. It's 50% you and 50% us. And together that makes 100%. But I can't do more than 100% of my 50%. You can't do more than 100% of your 50%. That's why it's called the 100% model. And so I just want to restate this because, again, the last couple of months have been, well, let's just call it what it is. It's been a little nuts for a lot of us. And just because we haven't talked a lot about this critical number, and we haven't talked, really checked in with you in terms of where you are, we've been helping you and supporting you through these past weeks and months, but we haven't really checked in with you at a more macro scale. And so that's something we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks to make sure we're clear on where you started the year, where are you now, and what else needs to happen over the next 7 months to help you make that next jump or two in your business, to help you get from idea to impact. So that's it. Those are the three things I want to talk about. I want to recap April, give you a big pat in the back for all the work that you've done. Thank you for letting us be a part of the work every single day. It's an honor and a privilege to work with you. I've never worked harder than we have probably in the last couple months in terms of helping each and every one of you through whatever instability or whatever challenges you may have. And I've never felt more rewarded from that. Like seeing the teams, like I mentioned, Dossier and Stasis, for example, in the healthcare sector, still figuring out how to sell their stuff, as just one example of just that the persistence that you've had and the focus you've had has been great. And so we appreciate everything that you do. And we know it's hard and we know it's tough with the teams disaggregated, with you trying to figure out how things go. But you've done a great job, and we want to continue to support you any way that we can. So anyway, so we wanted to recap and celebrate that success in April. I wanted to make sure we're really, really clear on what's going on in May, all the ways, all the cool stuff we're going to be doing together. I'm really excited about the trainings, really excited about the video stuff. And then also talk about and restate this critical number for us, how important it is to help you continue to grow. And we'll be continuing to check in with you over the course of the next couple of weeks, just to get a sense of where you started the year, where are you now, and what else you need in order to make that jump, so that we can help you be one of those 30 companies that helps us get to that critical number. So that's it for now. Let's have an awesome May. I'm really stoked. I'm pumped. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the first call, I hope. See ya.